My son went to the bank every Monday, always at the same time, for 27 years without missing a single week. It didn't matter if it was raining, if he had other commitments, if he was sick. Every Monday, there he was. When I asked why, he'd smile that calm smile of his and say the same thing every time. "It's just something I need to do, Mom. Don't worry about it." And I didn't worry. Why would I? Daniel had always been responsible. From a young age, he took care of his own things and never gave me any trouble. He worked hard, paid his bills, lived an organized, quiet life. I thought it was just another one of his habits. You know, everyone has their routines, so I let it go. Until the day my phone rang. It was a Tuesday morning. I was folding towels in the living room when I answered. On the other end of the line, a voice I didn't recognize said my name, and then said my son's name. My heart stopped, and when she began to explain the reason for the call, I dropped everything on the floor and stood there, frozen, unable to move. The phone rang on a Tuesday morning. I was in the living room folding towels, those white bath towels I'd just taken out of the dryer. It was hot. I remember the air conditioner had broken down again, and I'd opened the windows, but even so, the May heat in Texas is unbearable. I picked up my phone without looking at the number. "Hello." On the other end, a woman's voice I didn't recognize. Polite, professional. "Am I speaking with Mrs. Diane Mitchell?" My heart gave that strange little jolt. You know when you feel like something isn't right? "Yes, this is she." She took a deep breath. "My name is Patricia. I work at First National Bank here in Waco. Do you have a minute to talk?" "Bank." My stomach twisted instantly. "Is there a problem?" She hesitated. Just a second, but I noticed. "Well, Mrs. Mitchell, it's about the joint account you have with your son, Michael Mitchell." I dropped the towel I was holding. "Joint account? I'm sorry, but I think there's some mistake. I don't have a joint account with my son." Silence on the other end. A silence that lasted too long. And then she said, "You are listed as a co-holder on an account opened in March of 1997, shortly after the passing of your husband, James Mitchell." My head started spinning. 1997, 27 years ago, the year James died. I sat down on the couch because my legs simply wouldn't hold me anymore. I don't understand. What account?" Patricia continued, and I could hear in her voice that she was uncomfortable too. "Mrs. Mitchell, have you received any statements from this account over the years?" Statements? No, never. Michael always said he took care of everything, that I didn't need to worry. "No, my son handles those things." Another silence. "I see. Well, the reason for my call is that there was an attempt to make a large withdrawal earlier today, and since you are a co-holder, we need your authorization for amounts over $50,000. $50,000. The words echoed in my head. I couldn't process it. "Wait, how much is in that account?" I heard her typing. "At the moment, the account has a balance of $283,416. Everything stopped. The whole world stopped. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I couldn't do anything except hold that phone against my ear while that woman kept talking, but I couldn't hear her anymore. I could only think of one thing. Every Monday. For 27 years, my name is Diane. I'm 62 years old. And until that Tuesday morning, I thought I knew my son. I thought I knew my life. I thought I knew where every single cent my husband left behind had gone when he died. But I didn't know anything, and it all started the day James passed away. It was March of 1997. He was 51 years old. He had a massive heart attack while driving home from work on an ordinary Tuesday. He simply never made it home. The police knocked on my door at 9 that night. I was finishing washing the dinner dishes. my hands still wet with dish soap, when I heard the doorbell. I'll never forget the look of those 2 officers standing on my porch. The woman was young, maybe around 30, and she couldn't look me in the eye. It was the older man who spoke. "Are you Diane Mitchell?" I said yes, and then he went on. But I already knew. You know when you just know. James had left the house that morning complaining about chest pain. I told him to see a doctor. He said he would, but first he needed to take care of a few things at the office. Accountant, you know how it is. March was tax season. He was always swamped. He promised he'd stop by an urgent care later that afternoon. He never did. The days that followed were a blur. Wake, funeral, paperwork, people coming in and out of the house all the time, bringing casseroles, hugs, and that awkward silence from people who don't know what to say. My 3 children were there with me. Michael, the oldest, was 28 at the time and worked as an administrative assistant in a small office downtown in Waco. Andrei Tsin, the middle one, was 25 and a mechanic, working at a shop a friend of his had opened. And Shayla, my youngest, had just turned 22 and was studying education at night while working as a secretary at an elementary school. All 3 were still living with me. Back then, it wasn't unusual, especially here in rural Texas, in a small town where everyone knows everyone. We had a good house, 3 bedrooms, in a quiet neighborhood near Elm Street. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Bought with James's hard work. He always said he wanted to leave us secure, and he did. The house was paid off. That was one of the few things that brought me relief in those horrible days. But there was something else. Michael became my anchor. The day after his father's funeral, he sat with me at the kitchen table, held my hand, and said, "Mom, I'll take care of everything now. You don't need to worry about anything." And he did, or at least that's what I thought. It was Michael who organized all the estate paperwork. It was him who tracked down the life insurance papers James had. It was him who sat with me and explained, with that endless patience of his, how every account worked, every bill, every single thing James had always handled on his own. I was never the kind of person who dealt with those things, you know. I grew up in a time and place where the man handled the money and the woman took care of the house. My husband always insisted I didn't need to worry. "You take care of the house, the kids, I'll take care of the rest." And I let him. I trusted him. So when he was gone, I found myself completely lost. I didn't even know where the important documents were kept. Michael took over all of that, and I let him, gratefully, relieved, even. What mother wouldn't? He was my oldest son. He'd always been responsible, organized, hard-working. He'd been that way since he was little. While Andre walked around with grease-stained hands and Shayla was always forgetting where she'd left her car keys, Michael was different, methodical, woke up at the same time every day, kept his room spotless, never missed a deadline. I used to joke that he was born an adult. James was very proud of him. He said Michael had inherited his responsible side. And it was true. So when my son told me he would take care of everything, I believed him. Why wouldn't I? 1 week after the funeral, on a Monday morning, he asked to talk to me, and that's when everything truly began, even though I didn't know it at the time. It was a Monday morning, 1 week after the funeral. Andre had already left for the shop. Shayla was still asleep because she'd had class late the night before. The house was quiet, just the sound of the ceiling fan slowly spinning in the living room. Michael made coffee, something he rarely did, and sat with me at the kitchen table. He had a folder with him, one of those brown file folders his father used to keep important documents. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something," he started, and my heart started racing. I thought it was something bad, another bomb, another thing to worry about. But he put his hand over mine and smiled. a small smile, a little tired. I did the math. Dad's life insurance was deposited. It came to $150,000. I knew that. The insurance agent had called me a few days earlier to confirm it. It was a lot of money, more money than I'd ever seen in my life. And there's his pension too, which will keep coming to you every month. It's not much, but it helps. $850 a month. I nodded. Michael opened the folder and showed me some papers. Numbers, accounts, things I didn't really understand. Look, Mom, I've thought a lot about this. This money needs to be managed properly. We can't just leave it sitting in a checking account losing value. Let me take care of all of this for you. He ran his finger over the papers, showing me numbers that danced in front of my eyes. I'm going to open a special account at the bank, an account that earns more. You know, kind of like a savings account, but better. And every Monday I'll go there, organize everything, pay the household bills, take care of the investments. Investments. The word scared me a little. Investments? Isn't that risky? He chuckled softly, the same way his father used to laugh when I asked something about money. It wasn't mocking, but there was that hint of leave it to me. I know what I'm doing. No, Mom, they're safe things, CDs, bonds, that kind of stuff. Dad had some investments like that. I know how it works. He squeezed my hand. Do you trust me? I looked at him and saw James, the same furrowed brow when he was concentrating, the same way of tilting his head when he was explaining something. Of course I trust you, Michael. He smiled, relieved. Great. Then tomorrow I'll go to the bank and take care of everything. I just need you to sign here. He turned the folder toward me. There were 3 or 4 documents. What is this? He pointed them out. This one is to open the account. This one is to add me as a co-holder so I can make transfers and payments. And this one is a power of attorney in case you need me to sign something when you can't go to the bank. Power of attorney. I hesitated for a second. Do we need all that? Michael sighed. Mom, if you prefer, you can go with me to the bank every week, but it'll be a pain. Lines, paperwork, bureaucracy. I imagined it. Me, sitting on those hard chairs at the bank, waiting, not understanding anything that was going on, just signing wherever they told me to, and Michael already offering to do everything for me. Okay, where do I sign? I signed everything. He showed me where, pointed with his finger. I didn't really read it, if I'm being honest. My head was still a mess back then. I could barely sleep. I was taking some meds the doctor had prescribed for anxiety. So I just signed 3 documents, blue pen. My signature all crooked because my hand was shaking. Michael took the papers, put them back in the folder, and hugged me. You won't regret it, Mom. I promise I'll take care of you. And I believed him. At the funeral, Andre had pulled Michael aside. I saw it from a distance, the 2 of them talking near the car. Andre looked irritated, gesturing. Michael was calm, speaking softly. I didn't hear what they said, but later Andre came over to me with that tight expression he gets when something's bothering him. Mom, if you need help with anything at all, just call me, okay? I patted his cheek. It's all right, son. Michael's going to take care of things. Andre looked at his brother across the yard. Yeah, I know he is. In the first few weeks, Michael kept me informed about everything. Mom, I paid the electric bill today, $62. Mom, the water bill was high this month, $86. I think there might be a leak. I'll call a plumber. Mom, I put $5,000 into CDs. It earns 4% a year. He was meticulous. Every Monday, he left the house at 10 in the morning and came back around noon, always with that same brown folder under his arm. Sometimes he showed me receipts, explained where every cent was. I thanked him, but, to be honest, I didn't pay much attention. Numbers were never my thing, and I had other things to worry about. But there was one time, maybe about 3 months after the funeral, that Shayla asked something. We were having dinner, all three of us still living at home. Michael had made spaghetti with meatballs. "Mike, how much return is that money Mom let you manage making?" Michael didn't even look up from his plate. "Enough," Shayla pushed. "But how much? I'm thinking about investing my money too. I wanted to know what kind of return you're getting." He chewed slowly, swallowed, wiped his mouth with his napkin. "Shay, that's between me and Mom. It's her finances." Shayla raised her hands. Okay, just curious." But I saw the look on her face, that narrowed little look she always made when she thought someone was being a bit too dramatic. "He just wants to protect your privacy, Diane," she told me later when we were washing dishes. Mike's always been a little controlling about those things. Months turned into years. Andre met Lisa at a 4th of July party in 1998. She was a cousin of a friend of his, had come to visit from Houston. It was love at first sight, the kind you see in movies, you know. They got married the following year in a small ceremony at the Baptist church. They moved out, went to live in a tiny apartment near the shop. I helped with some things, furniture, pots and pans, that kind of new home stuff. I asked Michael to take some money out for that. "How much do you need, Mom?" he asked. "I don't know, son. 1,000. 1,500. He frowned. "That's too much. 500 is fine." I didn't question it. I thought he knew what he was doing. Shayla graduated and got a job as a second-grade teacher at an elementary school. She also got married while in 2001 to Kevin, a tall, quiet guy who worked as a supervisor at a warehouse. We liked him, polite, hard-working. When they announced they were moving to Austin because Kevin had gotten a better job there, I cried. But that's life, right? Kids grow up, go their own ways. Michael kept living with me. He dated a few girls over the years, but nothing serious. Once I asked, "Don't you want to build your own family, son?" He was sitting on the couch watching a baseball game. "I already have my family, Mom. You." And he smiled at me. At the time, it warmed my heart. Only many years later would I understand what that really meant. Mondays went on, decade after decade. Sometimes I barely even noticed anymore. It was part of the routine, like going to church on Sunday or grocery shopping on Thursday. Michael left at 10, came back at noon. Brown folder under his arm. "All good, Mom." And life went on. If the air conditioner broke, Michael had it fixed. "Don't worry, I'll pay." If I needed to go to the dentist, he scheduled it and paid. "It's all covered, Mom." When my old car started having problems in 2005, Michael showed up at home with a used Corolla in good condition. "I bought it for you. Safer," I cried with gratitude. How could I not? My church friends complained about their kids. Martha had a son who was always borrowing money. Susan had a daughter who barely called, too busy with her own life. And I had Michael, my perfect son, who lived with me, who paid the bills, who went to the bank every Monday. I felt blessed. But there was one Christmas, it must have been 2010 or 2011, when Andre and Lisa came over for dinner. We were in the living room after the meal, everyone stuffed with turkey and pumpkin pie. Andre was saying he'd opened his own shop. "I saved money for years, Mom. I finally did it." I was so proud. "That's wonderful, son." Michael was quiet in the corner. "How much did you invest in it?" Andre looked at him. 50,000. "Why?" Michael gave a little laugh. "Nothing. It's a good investment." But there was something in his tone, something I couldn't quite identify. Andre noticed it too, because he tensed up. Lisa put her hand on his arm, calming him. The moment passed, but it stayed there, in the air, something small, an uneasiness. I didn't know it then, but that would be the first of many tensions between my two sons and me right in the middle, not understanding anything. I don't know how long I sat there on the couch with the phone in my hand. Patricia kept talking, but I wasn't hearing a thing anymore. Just those numbers echoing in my head. $283,000, $50,000 that Michael tried to withdraw. 27 years. Mrs. Mitchell, are you still there? Her voice pulled me back. Yes, sorry, I'm not understanding. My voice came out weak, shaky. Patricia let out a sigh on the other end. I understand this must be confusing. Would you like to schedule a meeting here at the bank? I can show you the full history of the account, all the statements. Statements, history. 27 years of history. What time did Michael try to make this withdrawal? I asked. She hesitated. Around 10:15 this morning, ma'am. He presented a check signed by you, but since the amount exceeds $50,000, we need personal confirmation from the co-owner. A check signed by me. I hadn't signed any check, not in the last few weeks, at least. Or had I? Sometimes Michael asked me to sign things. It's just routine, Mom. And I'd sign. Oh my God. How many times had I signed without even looking? Mrs. Mitchell, do you authorize this withdrawal? Patricia's question froze me. I looked at the clock on the living room wall. 11:30. Michael had left the house at 10, like always. Said he was going to the bank, like always. He should have been there right now, waiting for me to approve. $50,000. No, I said, and my own voice startled me. Firm, clear. I don't authorize it, and I want to see those statements. Today. Can I come in right now? Patricia sounded surprised. Of course, Mrs. Mitchell, anytime. Bring a photo ID, I'll get everything ready. I hung up and just stood there, with the towel still on the floor by my feet. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel my pulse in my neck. $283,000. James's life insurance had been $150,000, even with interest over 27 years. How was there that much money? And why had Michael never told me? Why had I never seen a statement? Why, in almost 3 decades, had he never shown me what was in that account? I started shaking. My hands, my legs. I sat back down because I thought I might collapse. I picked the phone up again and called Andre. It rang 4 times before he answered. Hello, tools clanking in the background. He was at the shop. Andre. My voice came out weird, stuck in my throat. Mom, everything okay? No, it wasn't. Can you come over, right now? He must have heard something in my tone because his voice changed immediately. What happened? Are you hurt? No, I just need you here, please. A second of silence. I'm coming, 20 minutes. He hung up. I sat there staring at the front door, waiting, trying to get my thoughts in order. Michael had an account with $283,000, an account he opened 27 years ago, right after his father died, an account I was co-owner of but had never seen, never questioned, because I trusted him, and he tried to withdraw $50,000 today. $50,000. For what? Where was that money going? And how much had he already taken over the years without me knowing? The household bills weren't that high. Electric, water, internet, groceries, gas. Even adding it all up, it didn't come close to $3,000 a month. And James's pension covered part of that. So, where was the money going? I heard an engine outside, an old truck pulling up with that squeal of brakes that had needed fixing for years. Andre. He came through the front door without knocking, like he always did. He was in his blue shop coveralls, grease stains on his arms. His face was tight, worried. Mom, what is it? You're pale. I tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come out right, so I just said, the bank called me. Andre frowned. What bank? First National, a woman named Patricia. She said Michael tried to withdraw $50,000 today. I watched Andre's face shift. First confusion, then something darker. 50,000. From where? From an account. An account he opened in 97, right after Dad died. She said I'm a co-owner. I swallowed hard. Andre, there's $283,000 in that account, and I didn't know. The silence that fell in my living room was deafening. Andre just stood there, processing. I saw his jaw tighten, saw his hands curl into fists. 283,000, he repeated slowly, like he was testing the weight of the words. That's... Yes. He ran a hand down his face. Mom, Dad's insurance was $150. Even with interest, it doesn't get that high, unless... He stopped, looked at me. Unless there's more money going into that account. I hadn't even considered that, but it made sense. What money? I asked. Andre started pacing the room, restless. I don't know, but I'm gonna find out. Are you going to the bank now? I am. Patricia said she'd get the statements ready. Andre grabbed his truck keys. I'm going with you. So we went. First National sat downtown in Waco, in an old red brick building that had been there since before I was born. We parked on the street. Andre turned the engine off, but just sat there, staring straight ahead. Mom, I need to tell you something. I looked at him. What? He took a deep breath. On the day of Dad's funeral, Michael pulled me aside. He said he was going to take care of you, that he'd manage the money. I told him we could do it together, the three of us, share the responsibility. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. He said no, said he was the oldest, that it was his job, said I didn't understand that stuff, that I was just a mechanic. The bitterness in Andre's voice was thick. And I let it go because I thought he was trying to help, that he was doing the right thing. He looked at me. But something's wrong about all this, Mom. There always has been. And I should have pushed harder. I reached over and held his hand. This isn't your fault, honey. But deep down, part of me was starting to understand. None of this was an accident. Michael hadn't just taken over to help me. He'd taken control, and I'd led him. We went into the bank. The AC was blasting. That bank cold air that makes you feel like you're walking into a freezer. Patricia was waiting at the front, a woman in her mid-40s, short gray streaked hair, thin-framed glasses. She recognized me right away. Mrs. Mitchell, I nodded. She glanced at Andre. This is my son, Andre, I explained. Patricia shook his hand and walked us back to a small private office in the rear. There was a table, 4 chairs, and a stack of papers already waiting. Patricia sat on one side, Andre and I on the other. She opened a folder. I printed the statements from the last 5 years. If you want older ones, I can request them, but it will take a few days. 5 years already felt like too much. I looked at the papers and my vision blurred. Numbers, dates, deposits, withdrawals. Andre pulled the statements closer and started reading, running his finger down the lines. I watched his face change with every page. Mom, he pointed. Look at this. Every month, $2,000 goes into this account since 2019. I leaned in to where he was pointing. It was true. Every first of the month, a deposit of $2,000. Where is that coming from? I asked. Patricia checked her computer. It's an automatic transfer from Michael Mitchell's personal account. Michael's personal account. He'd been putting money into the account. $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year. For 5 years. But why? I whispered. Andre flipped more pages, then stopped. And look here. Withdrawals. Every week. $500. Every Tuesday. Tuesday. Not Monday. Michael went to the bank on Mondays, but the withdrawals were on Tuesdays. Patricia confirmed it. The withdrawals are done through an ATM, automated. Michael was taking $500 a week, $2,000 a month, but he was also putting $2,000 a month back. Why? None of it made sense. Andre kept reading faster, more tense. There's more. Look, December 2020, withdrawal of $15,000. March 2021, $20,000. August 2022, $30,000. He looked at me. Mom, where did that money go? I didn't know. I had no idea. Patricia cleared her throat. If you'll allow me, there's something else you should know. She pulled out another paper. When Mr. Michael attempted the withdrawal this morning, he presented documentation indicating the funds would be used for your medical expenses, a cancer treatment. The world stopped. Cancer. I don't have cancer, I said, and my voice sounded strangely calm. Patricia nodded slowly. I assumed as much. That's why I called to confirm. Andre stood up so fast his chair almost toppled. He lied. He forged medical documents to withdraw $50,000 from his own mother. He started pacing the room, breathing hard. That son of a... Andre, I said, but my voice had no strength in it. Patricia gathered the papers neatly. Mrs. Mitchell, I need to inform you that we're opening an internal investigation, and you have every right to file a police report if you feel it's necessary. A police report. Against my own son, I stared at the statements on the table. 27 years of total control, 27 years of lies, 27 years of Mondays at the bank, and I never suspected, not once. Andre sat back down beside me and wrapped an arm around my shoulders. Mom, we're gonna figure all of it out. I promise. But all I could think was, my son. My son did this to me. And how was I so blind? By the time we left the bank, it was already almost 2 in the afternoon. The Texas sun was relentless, that kind of heat that sticks to your skin. Andre helped me into the truck. I was holding the statements Patricia had given me. 5 years of paper, 5 years of lies printed in black and white. Andre started the engine but didn't pull away. He just sat there, hands on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead. We need to confront him, Mom. I knew that, but just thinking about it made my stomach churn. He should be home by now. Andre checked the time. He always gets back from the bank around noon, right? He always did. For 27 years, with that brown folder, with that calm smile. All good, Mom. Everything was fine. Nothing was fine. Nothing had ever been fine. Let's go, I said, and my voice came out firmer than I expected. We got home 15 minutes later. Michael's car was in the driveway. A black Camry, always spotless, always clean. We went in through the front door. The house was quiet. Michael, I called. Nothing. Andre went into the kitchen. He's not here. We went upstairs. His bedroom was at the end of the hallway. The door was closed. Andre knocked. Mike, open up. Silence, then a muffled voice. I'm busy. Andre knocked again, harder. Open up, now. The door opened. Michael was wearing jeans and a white shirt, barefoot. His hair was still wet from the shower. He looked at the two of us and something crossed his face. Fast, almost imperceptible. But I saw it. Fear. What is it? He asked, trying to sound casual. Andre pushed the door open and walked into the room. I followed. Sit down, Andre said, pointing to the bed. Michael frowned. Why? What's going on? Sit down. Andre's voice was low, controlled, dangerous. Michael slowly sat on the edge of the bed. I stood near the door, holding the statements against my chest. Andre crossed his arms. The bank called Mom today. I watched the color drain from Michael's face. He blinked. Once, twice. Oh, yeah? Trying to sound surprised. Yeah, a woman named Patricia. She said you tried to withdraw $50,000. Michael swallowed hard. I saw his throat move. I can explain. Then explain. Andre took a step forward. Michael looked at me, not at Andre, straight at me, with his father's eyes. Mom, I was going to tell you. I needed to take care of something first. What thing? My voice came out shaky. He ran a hand through his wet hair. I had some financial problems. Nothing serious, but I needed some quick cash to fix it. I was going to put it back, I swear. It was just a loan. A loan. From the account that was mine. From money that was mine. $50,000? I said. That's a big loan. He raised his hands. I know. It was wrong. I should have asked first. But Mom, you have to understand. I've always taken care of you. I've always paid all the bills. I never let you go without anything. Andre let out a dry laugh. Took care of her, with her money. Michael turned to him, irritated. I managed that money for almost 30 years. I made it grow. I protected it. If it were up to you two, it would have been gone in 5 years. The mask was starting to slip. I saw it. You two? Andre saw it too. Us two? What are you implying? Michael stood up. Nothing. I'm just saying I was the only one who cared about keeping things organized. You were too busy with your little shop. Shayla moved to Austin and barely called. I stayed. I took care of Mom. He looked at me. I stayed, Mom. I never abandoned you. And there it was. The guilt. The emotional game. Making it sound like everything he'd done was sacrifice. Was love. Andre took another step forward, fists clenched. You stayed because it was convenient, living for free, eating for free, and still stealing from her. I never stole, Michael shouted. It was the first time I'd ever seen him lose control. I managed it. I took care of it. And if I used a little money here and there, it was because I needed it, because I deserved it. There it was, the truth. Finally. You deserved it, I repeated, slowly. Michael realized what he'd said, tried to backtrack. No, Mom, that's not what I meant. How much? I cut him off. How much did you use? Silence. Michael looked away. Andre threw the statements onto the bed. Answer her. Michael looked at the papers, picked one up, read it, dropped it. It's not that simple, isn't it? Then explain. Explain the $2,000 you put into the account every month. Explain the $500 withdrawals every week. Explain the $15,000 in December 2020, the $20,000 in March 2021, the $30,000 in August 2022. Andre counted them off on his fingers. Explain all of that, Mike. Michael sat back down, head in his hands. He stayed like that for a while. When he looked up, his face was red. I had debt, okay? Credit card debt. I was stupid, spent too much, went into overdraft. I needed to pay it off, so I took a little just to cover it. I was going to put it back. A little, I said. How much is a little, Michael? He didn't answer. Andre crouched down to his level. How much? About $80,000 over the years. $80,000. I had to sit down. My legs wouldn't hold me anymore. I sat in the chair in the corner of his room. $80,000. And the $2,000 you deposit every month? Andre asked. That's to replace it, to balance it out. Michael looked at me, pleading. Mom, I'm paying it back. I'm putting it back. See? I'm not a thief. I made some mistakes. The front door slammed downstairs, footsteps on the stairs. Mom, Andre, where are you? Shayla. She appeared in the bedroom doorway, still in her school clothes. She must have gotten off early. She looked at the three of us. What's going on? Andre turned to her. Your brother stole $80,000 from Mom. Shayla blinked. What? Michael stood up. I didn't steal it. I borrowed it. There's a difference. Borrowed. Shayla walked into the room. Without asking, without telling her. She looked at me. Mom, is it true? I handed her the statements. She took them, started reading. Her face changed. Confusion. Shock. But then something else. Wait, 80,000 over. How long? Years, Andre said. About 10 years, more or less. Shayla did the math. That's like 8,000 a year, less than 1,000 a month. She looked at Michael. You're putting 2,000 back every month now, right? He nodded. So technically, you're paying it back, with interest even. Andre turned to her, incredulous. Shayla, seriously, you're defending him? She raised her hands. No, I'm not defending him. I'm just saying that, look, it was wrong. Obviously. But he didn't run off with the money. He didn't disappear. He's here. He's paying it back. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Shayla, he lied. For years, he controlled my money without me knowing. He tried to withdraw 50,000 today with fake documents saying I had cancer. Shayla froze. Cancer. She looked at Michael. You said she had cancer. Michael shook his head quickly. No, not exactly. It was just to make things easier at the bank. It wasn't anything serious. It wasn't anything serious, I repeated. You lied about me having cancer to steal $50,000, and it wasn't anything serious. Mom, please. He came toward me, dropped to his knees in front of me, took my hands. His were cold, shaking. I know I messed up, I know, but I never wanted to hurt you. Everything I did was to protect you, to take care of you. I lost my way a little, but I'm still your son. I still love you. I looked at him, at his face, so much like James's. But James would never have done this. James was honest, hardworking, trustworthy. And I'd spent 27 years thinking Michael was just like his father. But he wasn't, not at all. Let go of my hand, I said quietly. Michael hesitated. Mom, let go. He let go, stood up slowly. I stood up too, holding on to the chair so I wouldn't fall. I want all the statements, from 1997 on, everything, every deposit, every withdrawal, every transfer. My voice was steady now. And tomorrow morning, I'm going back to that bank and I'm taking your name off that account. Michael's face hardened. You can't do that. Yes, I can. It's my account, my money. But who's going to handle things? Who's going to pay the bills? I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in a long time. And I saw a man who wasn't my son, or rather, who was my son but one I didn't know. I will, on my own, like I should have from the beginning. Andre put a hand on my shoulder. I'll help you, Mom. Shayla stayed quiet, looking at Michael, then at me. Mom, are you sure? I mean, he messed up, but this is a lot of change all at once. And there it was, my daughter, torn, wanting to believe her brother wasn't that bad, that it could still be fixed. But I knew the truth now, and there was no going back. I'm sure, I said, and I walked out of the room. Went down the stairs. I heard Andre coming after me, and Michael upstairs yelling, Mom, Mom, please, we can talk about this, Mom. But I didn't turn back. I couldn't. Because if I did, if I looked at him again, I knew I'd weaken, and I couldn't weaken anymore, not this time. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the house. Michael had left. I heard the door slam around 7 in the evening, his car starting, the tires on the driveway, and then silence. Andre stayed with me until about 9. He sat with me in the kitchen, made coffee, didn't say much, just stayed there. Present. It was Lisa who called him, saying he needed to come back, that the boys were asking for their dad. They had 2 kids, 8-year-old twins. "I'll come back early tomorrow. Mom, we'll go to the bank together." I nodded. After he left, the house felt too quiet, heavy. I went up to my bedroom, lay down on the bed, but my mind wouldn't stop. It kept going back, years and years back. Every time Michael had asked me to sign something, every time I had trusted him, every Monday, that whole routine that had become so normal, so much a part of life, that I didn't even question it anymore. How was I so stupid? How did I let this happen? Around 2 in the morning, I heard the front door open. Slow footsteps on the stairs. Michael had come back. I heard his bedroom door close. I lay there in the dark, wondering what he was thinking. If he felt remorse, if he was afraid, or if he was just planning his next move. Because now I knew he was always planning. He always had been, and I had been the idiot who never noticed. I got out of bed at 6 in the morning. There was no point trying to sleep. I went downstairs, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table with the statements spread out in front of me. I started reading again, line by line, trying to understand. The $2,000 that had been going in every month since 2019, he said it was to pay back what he'd taken. But before that, before 2019, I flipped to the older pages, 2015, withdrawals of $1,000 twice a month, 2012, withdrawals of $800, 2010, $600. The further back I went, the more I saw. It wasn't just the last few years. It had been happening from the very beginning. Small amounts at first, 200 here, 300 there, things that didn't draw attention, but constant, always constant. And the account kept growing because the interest was good, because James's pension went in every month, because Michael also put money in from time to time, but he took more than he put in. He always had. Andre arrived right at 8. He knocked on the door, came in, looked at me, sitting at the table surrounded by papers. "Did you find anything else?" I showed him. It wasn't just the last few years, it was from the start. He was always taking money. Andre pulled up a chair and sat beside me, started going through the statements with me. "Son of a bitch," he muttered. "Sorry, Mom, but it's true. He planned this from day one." That's when Shayla showed up. She had a key. Came in through the kitchen door, still in pajamas under a jacket. She must have rushed out of the house. She lived 40 minutes away. "Are you really going to do this?" she asked, not even saying good morning. Andre looked at her. "Do what?" "Take Michael off the account. Cut him out of everything." Shayla crossed her arms. "He called me last night, crying, Mom, saying you're going to destroy him." "We're not destroying anyone," Andre said. "Controlled. We're just protecting Mom, which is what he should have been doing all along." Shayla shook her head. "He messed up, okay? He knows that. But he's paying it back. And he always took care of her, always paid the bills, always was here when she needed him." "With her money." Andre stood up from his chair. "Shayla, wake up. He stole from her." Shayla turned to me. "Mom, do you really want to do this? Sue your own son. Because that's what's going to happen if you go to the bank today and make a scene." "Sue, I hadn't thought of it like that." "No one talked about suing," I said, my voice weak. "But Patricia, from the bank, said they're opening an investigation." Shayla threw her hands up. "There you go. He's going to be investigated. He could lose his job. He could go to jail. He could—" She stopped, emotional. "He's my brother, Mom. Our brother. We can't do this to him?" Andre walked around the table and stood in front of Shayla. "And Mom, can we do this to her? Leave her in the hands of someone who lied, who stole, who forged documents?" "He wasn't going to hurt her." "He already did." Andre's voice echoed through the kitchen. He already did, Shayla. He betrayed her trust, used her, for years. That's not love. That's not care. That's manipulation. The silence that followed was heavy. Shayla's eyes were red. I knew she was torn. My girl had always been emotional, always wanted to believe the best in people. But Andre was right, and I had to do this. I stood up from the chair. I'm going to get dressed. We're going to the bank. Shayla took a step forward. Mom, please, just wait one more day. Talk to him again. Give him another chance. I looked at her face, so much like mine when I was young. Sweetheart, how many chances have I already given without knowing it? 27 years of chances. I went upstairs, changed clothes, came back down. Andre was waiting in the living room. Shayla had left. She went to talk to him, Andre said, looking out the window. I saw Shayla's car parked in front of the shop where Michael worked. She'd gone there. Of course she had. We got into the truck and went to the bank. When we arrived, Patricia was already waiting. She had more papers. Good morning, Mrs. Mitchell. I brought the statements you asked for from 1997 until now. It was a massive stack, years of history. We sat in the same small room as yesterday. Patricia laid the papers on the table. I also need to inform you of a few things we discovered in the internal investigation we started yesterday. My heart started racing. What? Patricia opened a folder. The account was opened in March of 1997, as I said, but the initial documentation has some irregularities. She showed me a paper. Is this your signature? I looked. It was my signature, but the ink was different, darker. I think so, Patricia nodded. The document was signed by you, but parts of it were filled in later. Look here. She pointed. The account opening date, the account type, the initial amounts, all of this was filled in with a different pen after you signed. Andre leaned forward. What does that mean? It means that when Mrs. Mitchell signed this document, she probably didn't know exactly what she was signing, or didn't have all the information. I remembered. That morning in the kitchen, Michael placing the papers in front of me. It's just to open the account, Mom, routine. And I had signed, without reading, without questioning. Patricia continued. And there's more. The power of attorney that was registered, giving Michael full authority over the account. It was renewed 3 times over the years. Do you remember signing those renewals? I didn't, not specifically. But Michael was always asking me to sign things. It's just an update, Mom, bank protocol. And I signed. I always signed. Patricia gathered the documents. Mrs. Mitchell, based on what we found, there is evidence of, I'll use a technical term, misappropriation of funds. Your son had unrestricted access to funds that legally belong to you, and he used those funds without your explicit authorization. Misappropriation of funds, financial crime. What happens now? I asked, my voice coming out weaker than I wanted. That depends on you. If you want to move forward with a formal complaint, the bank will cooperate fully. We'll provide all necessary documentation. But, she hesitated, I know he's your son, and I understand that complicates things. Andre looked at me. Mom, the decision is yours, but you at least need to take him off the account. Today, now. I knew he was right. I took a deep breath. I want his name removed. I want to be the only account holder. And I want to change all passwords, all access. Patricia nodded. We can do that right now. I'll need you to fill out some forms. She left the room. It was just Andre and me. You're doing the right thing, Mom, he said, taking my hand. I wanted to believe that. I wanted to feel like I was doing the right thing. But all I felt was pain. Because no matter what Michael had done, He was still my son. And I still remembered the boy he used to be. The kid who woke up early to make pancakes for breakfast. The teenager who helped his dad in the yard every Saturday. The young man who held my hand at the funeral and promised to take care of me. Where did it all go wrong? At what point did he stop being that boy and become this? Patricia came back with the forms. I spent the next hour signing papers. Each signature felt heavier than the last. When I finished, Patricia handed me a new bank ID, a new card, new codes. All set, Mrs. Mitchell. From now on, only you have access to this account, no one else. I put everything in my purse. Thank you. We left the bank. The sun was high now, the heat unbearable. Andre helped me into the truck. What now? I asked. He started the engine. Now you're going home. You're going to rest. And tomorrow we'll sit down and make a plan, a real plan. For your life, for your money, without Michael in the middle. Without Michael, the idea felt so strange, so painful, but also, in a strange way, freeing. When we got home, Michael's car wasn't there. He'd probably gone to work, or was at Shayla's place. It didn't matter. I went inside and went to my bedroom, lay down on the bed, and for the first time in 27 years, I didn't worry about what Michael was doing at the bank, because he wasn't at the bank anymore. He wouldn't be anymore. And maybe, just maybe, I could finally breathe. Michael showed up the next morning. I was in the kitchen having coffee when I heard the key in the door. He still had a key. He walked in and we just stood there, staring at each other. He had deep, dark circles under his eyes. His clothes were wrinkled. He looked like he hadn't slept. Mom, I need to talk to you. I set my mug down on the table. There's nothing to talk about, Michael. He took a few steps into the kitchen. Please, just listen. 5 minutes. I didn't want to. But part of me, the part that was still a mother, that still remembered him as a little boy, couldn't say no. 5 minutes. He pulled out a chair and sat across from me. I know I ruined everything, I know, and I'm not asking for forgiveness because I know I don't deserve it. He took a deep breath. But I need you to understand one thing. When Dad died, I was so scared. Scared I wouldn't be able to take care of you. Scared we'd lose the house. Scared everything would fall apart. He rubbed his face. And when I saw that money, all that money, I thought if I controlled it, if I managed it, nothing bad would happen. I'd protect you. But then you started using it, I said softly. He nodded, his eyes red. At first, it was small, $100 here, $200 there. I had little debts. I thought I could pay them off fast and put it back. But he stopped. It got easier. Every time I needed something, the money was right there, and I always convinced myself I'd pay it back, that it was just temporary. He looked at me, but it was never temporary, and the more I took, the more I had to hide, the more I had to lie, until it turned into this. I listened to all of it, and part of me understood how he'd gotten lost, step by step, but understanding wasn't forgiving. You lied and said I had cancer, Michael. My voice shook. You used my supposed illness to try to steal $50,000. How did you expect me to believe this was all a mistake? He closed his eyes. I panicked. I had a gambling debt I had to pay urgently. Some guys were pressuring me. I didn't know what to do. Gambling. He gambled. The more I found out, the worse it got. And you thought the solution was to rob me. I wasn't gonna rob you. I was gonna pay it back. I always pay it back. He was getting worked up now. Why do you think I put $2,000 a month back in? Because I care. Because I'm trying to fix it. The front door opened. Andre walked in. He stopped when he saw Michael sitting in the kitchen. What are you doing here? Michael stood up. Talking to my mother. Is that your problem? It is when you're manipulating her again. Andre stepped into the kitchen, positioning himself between us. Michael let out a dry laugh. Manipulating. I'm being honest for the first time in my life, and you think it's manipulation. You don't know how to be honest, Mike. You spent 27 years lying. They stood there, staring each other down. Brothers, two men I had raised, that I had loved equally, and now they were on opposite sides of a line I never imagined would exist. Enough. I stood up. Both of you, stop. They looked at me. Michael, I heard what you said, and I do believe you're sorry. I really do. But that doesn't change what you did. It doesn't change 27 years of lies. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself. I took your name off the account yesterday. You don't have access to the money anymore, and I'm not going to file a police report. Yet, but you need to leave this house. His face twisted. What? You heard me. I want you out. Today. Tears started running down his face. Mom, no, please. This is my house. I've lived here my whole life. And you used that, I said, feeling my own tears starting. You used the fact that you were here, that you were close, to control everything. I need space. I need to think. And I can't do that with you here. He dropped to his knees, literally dropped to his knees in front of me. Mom, don't do this. I don't have anywhere to go. Andre stepped forward. You have a job. You have a paycheck, rent an apartment. With what money? Michael looked at him. I owe a bunch of people. I have nothing. And there it was. The full truth. He had nothing because he'd blown it all, and now he expected me to keep supporting him. You have until the weekend, I said, my voice firm despite the tears. Pack your things and go. I walked out of the kitchen, went upstairs to my room, locked the door, and collapsed on the floor, crying. I heard voices downstairs, Michael and Andre arguing, a door slamming, silence. Then footsteps on the stairs, a light knock on my door. Mom, it's me. Andre. I opened the door. He hugged me and I cried into his shoulder. I cried out everything I'd been holding in, the pain, the betrayal, the loss, because I'd lost my son, not to death but to something worse, to greed, to lies. Shayla showed up a few hours later. I'd already calmed down. I was sitting in the living room with Andre, drinking tea. She walked in with puffy eyes. Mom, I talked to Michael. I didn't say anything. She sat in the armchair across from me. He told me everything. The debts, the gambling, all of it. And I didn't know it was that bad. She wiped her tears. I thought you were overreacting, that maybe he'd taken a little money here and there, but nothing major. But it wasn't like that, was it? I shook my head. It wasn't. Shayla was quiet for a moment. I apologized to you yesterday for doubting you, for defending him without knowing everything. She looked at me. You did the right thing, Mom. I just didn't want to believe my brother was capable of that. Me neither, I said, taking her hand. But he was, and he is, and we have to deal with it. The days after that were strange. Michael disappeared. I don't know where he went, I didn't ask. Shayla said he was staying with a friend. Andre came by every day, helped me organize things. We sat with the statements, made spreadsheets, tried to account for every penny. I found things that made me sick. He'd taken money to pay for trips he never mentioned. He'd bought a car and then sold it. He'd spent thousands on online casinos, and through all of it, he'd looked me in the eyes and said, "It's all good, Mom. I've got you." 2 weeks later, Patricia called me. Mrs. Mitchell, the bank has completed the investigation. Based on the evidence, we're forwarding the case to the district attorney. You don't need to do anything. It's standard procedure when there's documented fraud. Fraud. My son was going to be investigated for fraud. And what happens now? I asked. They'll decide whether they're going to prosecute. But with the documentation we have, it's very likely they will. She hesitated. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Mitchell. I was too. 3 weeks later, Michael was indicted. Misappropriation, bank fraud. Shayla called crying. Mom, they're going to arrest him. They didn't. Not right away. He had to appear in court, had to get a public defender because he didn't have the money to hire a private attorney. The case would take months, maybe years. But the mask had fully come off now. Everybody knew. The church, the neighbors, the small town where everybody knows everybody. Michael Mitchell, the son who stole from his own mother. I didn't go to any of the hearings. Andre did. He kept me updated. He pleaded guilty, Mom. He'll have to pay restitution, and he'll probably get probation. Probation. He wasn't going to prison. Part of me felt relieved. Another part of me thought he'd gotten off way too easy, but I didn't have the energy to stay angry. I was too tired. Months passed. I learned to handle my own finances. Andre helped at first, taught me how everything worked. But after a while, I could do it on my own. And you know what? It wasn't as hard as Michael always made it sound. It was just organization, attention, responsibility. Things I'd always had, but I'd let someone else do for me. Never again. In September that year, 7 months after that Tuesday that changed everything, I was at church on a Sunday when a woman came up to me. It was Carol, an older lady I recognized but had never really talked to. Diane, can I talk to you for a minute? We went to a quieter corner. Carol looked around, nervous. I heard what happened. With your son. And I think I'm going through the same thing. My chest tightened. What do you mean? She told me. Her son-in-law had access to her finances since her husband died. She didn't understand numbers, had let him handle it. But lately, she'd noticed strange things. Money missing. Bills not adding up. And I don't know what to do. I'm scared to ask because he's married to my daughter. I don't want to cause trouble. I held her hand. Carol, you have to ask. You have to know, because if you don't do it now, it'll be too late. I helped her. Sat down with her, explained what to do, how to request statements, how to question things. And she found out he'd taken more than $30,000 over 3 years. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just me. There were other women, other mothers, other grandmothers, other widows who trusted someone and been betrayed. And maybe, just maybe, I could help. I started small, a little group at church. We called it Financial Education for Older Women. Just the basics. How to open an account, how to read a statement, how not to depend on anyone. 10 women showed up to the first meeting, 20 to the second, 30 to the third. Andre was proud. Look at you, Mom, turning all this into something good. I don't know if it was good, but it was something, it was purpose. It was a reason to get up in the morning that wasn't just pain. Shayla started coming to the meetings too, helping. She was a teacher. She knew how to explain things simply. And little by little, we reconnected. Not the way it used to be. It would never be the way it used to be. But it was something new. Something more honest. I never saw Michael again. I heard things here and there, that he'd gotten a new job, that he was living on the other side of town, that he was paying restitution, $50 a month for years. One day, almost a year after everything, I got a letter from him. I didn't open it for 2 weeks. It sat there on the living room table, staring at me. When I finally opened it, it was just 3 sentences. Mom, I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I understand now how much I hurt you. Michael. I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. Maybe one day I will. Maybe one day I'll be able to forgive. But not now, not yet. Today, more than a year after that Tuesday, I wake up every day and look at the ceiling in my bedroom. The same house, the same ceiling, but everything is different. I'm different. I'm not the woman anymore who signed papers without reading them, who trusted blindly, who let other people decide for her. I'm someone new, someone who's still learning, someone who still hurts, but who also breathes. The bank account has less money now, legal expenses, lawyers, life, but it's my money, only mine. And I know exactly where every penny is. The church group has grown. We've got more than 50 women now, some with stories like mine, others just wanting to learn, wanting to be independent, wanting to never go through what I went through. And every time I teach one of them how to read a bank statement, every time I see that light of understanding in someone's eyes, I think it was worth it, the pain was worth it, because I wouldn't undo what I learned. I wouldn't undo the woman I became, even if it cost me my son, even if it broke my family, even if every Monday I still glance at the clock at 10 in the morning and remember, for a second, that routine that lasted 27 years. My name is Diane. I'm 63 years old, and for the first time in my life, I know exactly who I am, and that, at the end of the day, is enough.